Why will Caravan PvP become the cornerstone of gameplay for a lot of Ashes of Creation players? Let's chew the fat. Hail and well met adventurers, this is Cash from LoreForged. I'm still riding the high of watching Intrepid's kick-ass livestream on Caravan PvP. Now, if you weren't able to catch the stream live, I'm gonna break it down for you and bring you the highlights right here, right meow.
Starting right meow?
It seems like a recurring theme that after every one of these development updates, us nerds at LoreForged say things like, best one yet, or that one was a banger. Well, could it be that maybe we're just rabid fans of Intrepid and the game they're building, or is it that every one of these streams gets better than the last? Well, this nerd thinks it's a bit of both. Based off of what we saw, I personally think that Caravan PvP is going to become a pillar of gameplay for many players, meaning attacking or defending caravans will be a majority of what they do in their gameplay sessions. I have a bunch of reasons, but I think understanding exactly what we saw in that video is paramount. If you'll allow me just a few minutes to detail some of the major points of the showcase while we watch the eye candy dropped on us in 4K, let's go do that now. But keep in mind the gameplay and mechanics that you see in this video is a work in progress and not the final product. Well, here we go. Now, before we get into the meat, can we talk about the environment for a second? The increased view distance, like you could see the raid party silhouetted against the rock formation in the valley, and that render distance was just plain glorious. For an unoptimized game, not quite an Alpha 2, it looks insane. Character models, armors, weapons, hoods, cloaks, lighting effects, it all looks fantastic. Now, as Steven got closer, we saw some very familiar faces in the crowd of players. We saw Vertek, we saw Chibi Bree, we saw Cat Snevens, among many of the others. And in the words of one of my favorite film stars,
Lucky.
Now, the stream was set up right away to show a group of bandits setting up to ambush a caravan. And then bam, there it was. My first holy smokes moment, Ranger Camo revealed. I've been waiting with bated breath for this sneaky little reveal they did. So what we saw of it was that Ranger Camo is semi-translucent. It looks a bit like Predator stealth style, kind of pixelized if you've ever seen the movies. It only works at range, and you can be targeted from a distance, meaning, yeah, if you're a defender, you might have to have people clicking off into the wilderness to see if there's any hiding rangers in stealth. Now, another quick note and a nod in the direction of Intrepid. The production value of these streams just keeps getting more and more polished. For example, take a look at the changes of camera views from player to player. This was a really nice touch, as it really added perspective to each situation. Bravo, Intrepid. So then, Steven and his band of bloodthirsty highwaymen identify their first target. Poor old Nestharis. Well, let's just say Nestharis got deleted from the server. And what this showed me is that this really focused the power of focusing your target. We did confirm here that snipe from stealth is a thing for rangers, and I'd imagine skills from the rogue as well if they're in stealth. Now, I confirmed this by watching the video on repeat a few times, and I did confirm that the group of rangers did not come out of stealth until their arrows were loosed. That's kind of enough about the ranger. I kind of tend to gush on it. Now, the battle was fast and furious, and I actually felt kind of bad for the caravan, especially when we saw poor Chibi Bree down there who was healing her cleric rear off, trying to keep her caravan party alive. Good job, Chibi. Now, the caravan was then targeted and destroyed, dropping several crates of loot. The caravan was then set ablaze, and fire and smoke effects were improved and outstanding from the last time that we saw them. Here's a fun fact. The fire went out. The smoke then continued to billow from the wrecked caravan. I'm not saying it had anything to do with us at LoreForged, but a couple of us are pretty significant fire dorks, and we may have had a hard time watching the caravan from the last live stream burn unabated for several minutes while Steven talked mechanics. This time, the fire eventually went out, lessening the possibility of spreading fire to the forest. Now, I don't know, maybe it was our concern for that sparked this change, but probably not. But just remember,
Only you can prevent forest fires.
okay, enough of that. On to the crate loot. Now, the first type of crate we saw contained stolen commodities. Now, it was said that if you loot the item, you get special certificates and that you can offload those certificates at a nearby node for coin. A second type of crate was called a materials crate, and this one happened to contain rubies that Steven showed the audience. But wait, how do you transport that stolen loot? Well, this was a big question for a lot of us from the last Caravan showcase. Steven's no dummy. He came prepared. He had an item in his inventory called a caravan, and he used this to summon a pre-stashed empty caravan at a nearby node to transport the goods. These caravans can be created in the field and will arrive based on how far you are from the node it's coming from. For example, if you spawn it close to the node, it's going to spawn at your location in less time. But if you're really far from the node it came from, it's going to take much longer, simulating travel time. Now, as a result, the caravan party you just wiped might have enough time to respawn and get back to reclaim their loot. So if I were you, I would post some scouts. Now, once that empty caravan spawns, players can access the crates to load them. Now, keep in mind, you might want to instruct your team to keep their grimy mitts off the loot, because you get more reward if you leave the boxes closed and don't open them in the field. Now, once that caravan spawns, you can move it closer to the crates, use an ability on the caravan ability bar, and load them into the caravan's inventory. Well, Cash, how would anybody know that a caravan was even going to be launched? This is where the fun comes in, friends, because let's talk about hunting a caravan. Now, typically, you wouldn't know a caravan was moving unless you encountered it during your adventures, if you're out in the wild picking flowers and you just happen to see one. Or, as they explained, caravan hunting is more of a diegetic thing. No, not diabetic.
I'm Wilfred Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
Diegetic. Now, this means it happens within the confines of the story of the world, within the context. This means that you can get information about when a caravan will launch by gaining intel from within the game. Yeah, this means spies, moles, paying for information, subterfuge, and betrayal. Sound fun? It does to me. Now, this is an example of a game that provides the mechanics for the player to create their own content. This is a sandbox MMO feature, friends, and yes, Ashes has it. Now, attacking or defending caravans has progression paths to aid you in becoming more successful in whatever your chosen path is. As mentioned on the live stream, a Highwayman faction or Defender faction is available. These factions are going to give you access to better equipment, being able to open crates faster, being able to get a better loot yield, having a stronger caravan strength, etc., etc. Well, then came the portion of the video where Steven and his merry band of brigands was trying to escape with their stolen loot. Well, they got to a point where they got near water. And what were they going to do then? This was another thing that we really wanted to see from the last Caravan stream, and Intrepid delivered. So when you're near water, an ability shows on your caravan hotbar that's called Convert to Raft. Excuse me, what? Yup, it's a thing, friends. That deploys a dock that slowly builds over time. The caravan is then deconstructed, and it appears atop the raft. Now, you're going to have to defend your caravan while this completes. Again, this allows time for the defeated party to rally and attack again. Now, the raft will complete eventually and then automatically launch into the water. Let me pause here. The effects were amazing. It launched just like the Titanic into the water, and it had buoyancy. It was beautiful. Big giant shout out to Dev Hal. Now, the crew boards the raft. Now, they climb aboard from the water with actual climb animations, not just jumping straight from the water like a lot of other games do. The animations were just fantastic. Now, there is a moment where the raft is sitting still in the water, and I kind of took a moment to soak this in. You got a really good look at water effects and the new water shader. It is absolutely beautiful and looking incredible. Big shout out to Dev Adam. So the current system in the waterways, this actually can increase your speed if you're traveling with the current and slow your speed if you're traveling against the current. I thought that was a fantastic add. Very well done. Now they get ambushed in the water after a wrong turn. I don't know if it was just bad directions or if Steven is just a really terrible shrimp boat captain, but
It's my boat.
they end up almost beaching it and they end up getting attacked and ambushed again from the land. Now they make it to a landing port eventually where they convert the caravan back to a land caravan and then progress toward the node. Now in one final push toward the node, it brought another sortie between the vengeful former caravan owners and they were quickly thwarted. So eventually the stolen cargo would arrive at Miraleth, a river town. Now again, I took a moment here to really note the beauty of this waterside village. Absolutely stunning. So once the stolen goods arrive in town, Steven unpacks the loot, though the loot will remain locked for a time, which was explained to be typically days. Now these are in-game days, based off of how the node progresses. So when Steven tries to offload the materials to the commodities vendor, but the commodities vendor wasn't having it. No stolen goods brought here, Mr. Highwayman, find someplace else. But that was okay because Steven and his fellow brigands know a guy. The bandits progress down a dark alleyway and into a shady back house where they meet Ophelia Blackwater. Amazing name, by the way. But she's a fence from the black market, and she gladly takes the stolen items off their hands. Well, this brings up a couple of points. Black market buildings, which is a specialization of the market, are available in nodes if you spec into it. Now, normal vendors may not want those stolen goods, as we saw with the commodities vendor, or they may give you much less coin for those stolen goods. But if that node has spec'd into a black market building, you'll get your money's worth. It is a choice mayors can make to turn their node into a hub for black market trading. Now imagine the possibility of running a trading port on the water and turning it into a seedy, dark black market pirate town, or a riverside town where you have to take your goods to the slums where you'll find back alley deals taking place. Folks, with mechanics like these built into our MMO, the possibilities are endless. How's that for immersion? So why do I think Caravan PvP will be the cornerstone of many gamers' experience in Ashes? First off, the battles can be set up ambush style. Stealth, tactics, and battlefield awareness will be key. For caravan defenders, it will require acute awareness and a quick reaction time from your forces. It's aspects like this that make PvP fun, even if you're a PvEer. Secondly, the encounters can be quick, effective ways to gain loot. Mercenary guilds are going to spring up all over the place because of this showcase. Trust me on that one. Next, planning for these events, regardless of whether or not you're attacking or defending, is going to be essential. For those launching caravans, you'll have to plan out your roster for who's going to defend your loot. You're going to have to scout out optimal routes and escape paths. You'll have to map out and possibly avoid choke points and dead ends. You'll need scouting teams, defense teams, and reinforcements. For the attackers, you'll need to first find out when and where these caravans are going to spawn. That will happen with good old intelligence and spy work. You're going to need to plan the location for your attack and strategize your best tactics. This will require practice and a coordinated team. Lastly, and probably the biggest reason I think that Caravan PvP is going to be a cornerstone of gameplay for so many players in Ashes, is that a game will be played outside of the actual game and will add so much immersion to AshesOfCreation. For example, an attacking guild or node may have to plant a spy in another guild. That takes a lot of work. Spies may have to pay for information or trade that intel for goods and services. Subterfuge, rogue work, and betrayal are all going to be a real part of AshesOfCreation, and this caravan system is ripe for that type of gameplay. It doesn't matter if you're a PvEer, a roleplay, or a PvPer. It's just plain fun. And this is yet another example of AshesOfCreation and Intrepid putting in mechanics for the players to create their own content. So what did you think? Needless to say, the Caravan PvP development update absolutely tickled our PvPs. Is that a word? Well, I guess it is now. That update surpassed our expectations, added in some features we weren't expecting, and really left us kind of ravenous for more. But we want to know what your thoughts are on the update. Do you think Caravan PvP is going to become a really big part of people's gameplay in Ashes of Creation? Are you excited for this feature of gameplay? What feature of the game are you most excited for? Drop us a comment below and let's talk about it. Like and subscribe if you like what LoreForged is doing, and safe travels, adventurers.